Welcome to the first webinar of our Radical Kindness Elevenses Webinars series, brought to you by Belong, the Cohesion and Integration Network. My name is Christine and I'll be your host for this webinar. So I don't know about you, but my nana and many grannies that I know had an Elevenses tradition in the morning at 11 AM with a cup of tea and a biscuit, or if she was feeling posh, a cake. And Belong is now taking on this marvellous tradition of Elevenses to run this all-new webinar series at 11 AM on Tuesdays. So these are half-hour webinars, and we invite you to bring a cuppa, here's mine, and a cake or a biscuit. Today I have tiffin, and take a break at 11 AM once a week to join us. So our focus for these webinars is radical kindness, which we define as kindness across difference. So at a time when we're locked down, many of us are feeling isolated and not a little bleak about the fractures that we see in our society, perhaps, hearing about the fantastic work that's being done by some of our members and research partners to reach out across difference is the perfect antidote. So we'll be exploring radical kindness each week with 2 or 3 guests joining us each time to talk to us about the fantastic acts of radical kindness taking place in their area. So I hope you've boiled the kettle and you've baked that cake or cracked open that packet of biscuits and you're ready for an inspirational half hour. In the new year, by the way, we'll be running more Elevenses webinars exploring radical kindness in communities, education and business. But for this one, today we are joined by Dr Shehla Khalid, Evaluation and Project Improvement Officer, and Cain Lewis, Programme Administrator from Bradford and Everyone, an Integration and Cohesion programme being delivered as part of Bradford Council's Stronger Communities Together team. So, and I'll tell you, we'll find out a little bit more about them. It's very exciting what they've both been doing. So hello, Shehla and Cain. Thank you so much for joining me today for our first one.
Hi, Chrissy.
So, are you both well? Have you got your cup of tea? Have you got this that starts?
Yes, we're well. Well, I've actually got a glass of water, not a cup of tea.
Oh, so healthy. Okay, so Cain, I'm going to start with you. So can you tell me about what acts of radical kindness, what you've been doing? Tell me how it began, a little bit about what you've been up to.
Yeah, so so one of the kind of the big sort of, well, what I see as a small act of kindness, and it seems to be big to lots of other people. So during lockdown it was mainly through my son's mental health and the impact it was having on him, not being able to see, you know, teachers, family, friends. He started to retract to some of his early years sort of ways, and then every single day he wanted to be a superhero. He wanted to dress up in all of his costumes, his Spider-Man and his Buzz Lightyear costumes. And he would ask me to be part of that acting, you know, whilst I was balancing with work commitments and things that, you know, I'd have to pretend to be a transformer. He very latched on to Bumblebee, the transformer. And what we were finding is that on the Facebook group that we're part of it on the street, is that people were having similar issues with their children not struggling with the first lockdown. So I said to Leo, well, let's get out of the house and we'll go, you know, you can go around in your Spider-Man costume and just give the children a wave, and I'll let everybody know on the street or through the Facebook group that we'll be out at this certain time. And then Leo suggested that I could pretend to be Bumblebee, transformer. So I said okay then, but you know, little did he know I actually did have a Bumblebee transformer outfit in the garage from my nephew's fancy dress birthday party. So it was just really bizarre that it actually turned out to be Bumblebee transformer. So we went out at a certain time in the afternoon, and people came out and actually, you know, was so happy and overwhelmed and waving and sending kind messages. So that's what I did, and then I was asked by our program lead to do like a bit of a blog around acts of kindness. So I did a blog and set up a Facebook page, which would to hopefully influence people, you know, to do acts of kindness or small acts of kindness. And what happened was when I set up the Facebook page, I got absolutely inundated with requests because people they were looking for some kind of hope or happiness or something to entertain the children. I think is where people were coming from. So I hit almost every single postcode across the Bradford district, and at one point I did actually have to switch off my Facebook Messenger because I was the influx of messages that were coming in. So I went across the whole district, myself and Leo dressed up as a Bumblebee Transformer, and he was dressed up as Spider-Man to really support people with their mental health. Really.
That's absolutely fantastic. And so can you just tell me what your inspiration was? You were saying obviously there's struggling with mental health, and I think at the time, Leo, I think you've frozen actually a little bit, Cain, so I might ask you to turn your video off just at the moment.
Okay.
Oh no, looks like you've come back. So, okay, that's great. So you said that mental health actually, and Leo at the time was 3, I think, is that right?
It was, yeah.
Yeah, so there was sort of a regression that was happening developmentally as well, being locked down. But what other inspiration did you have for that action? I sort of read something on Facebook on your blog, so I'm responding to that.
Yeah. So the blog, I mean, we're in a time of where it was the globe was just locked down, and I was struggling with my mental health. So that was for me to help someone else was my way as well of dealing with my mental health. I think that's what really inspired me. So it was really through Leo and mental health were the combination of the two. Really were what inspired me is actually to help another person, and I think that helps yourself. So it's like a two-way process, really. So that's really what inspired me to do that.
Connecting to other people. And you also spoke about on your blog 10 Keys to Happier Living.
Yeah.
Vanessa King, was that something that inspired you too?
Yes, it was. Yeah. So the action for happiness was shared by Zara, actually, who's the program lead for Bradford for Everyone. And then when I looked into it a bit more, we talked about acts of kindness, and I could relate to it actually. I've done many acts of kindness over the last few years. So reading that was really inspirational as well, and really helped develop the blog.
Excellent. And can you tell me what the impact was on the people that you visited?
The impact, well, I don't know. I don't know if I think the adults were more excited than the children, but it was. Some of the messages I was getting was, we really thank you. It was, it made our week, it made our day. It's really caring what you've done. We really appreciate what you're doing. There were lots of the kind messages that were coming through from people. So I think it kind of helped them and kind of made their week exciting whilst in lockdown.
What difference do you think it made? I suppose I'm thinking about what situation those people might have been in at the time, and the difference that action that you took with Leo made.
Yeah, well, I think it probably made a lot of a massive difference actually. If you think, I came across like single parents who had three children, 2 children. I would have conversations with people, over the garden fence, and they'd talk about their, some of the struggles that they were having. So I think it made a difference in terms of I was able to have a conversation with someone that might be outside of their family or outside of the social bubble, but also, parents. In terms of, I'm going to single parents because they were some of the key things that I picked up on when I was out and about. They were just might have just been having conversations with the children and not having no adult interaction at all. So I think that's why some of the adults was more excited than the children in that case, in that situation. And for the children, it made a big difference to them because it was something exciting happening in terms of entertainment after just being asked to stay in your house. You can't mix with anyone, you can't go to school. So I think it made a big difference there.
And what were the other areas that you went to? So as the Facebook requests became exaggerated, you ended up with loads of them, didn't you? And you ended up pretty much on tour. Where did that take you? And did it take you to new areas that you'd never been to before?
Yeah, I mean, I do go around the district quite a bit. So I went to Haworth. I've not been to Haworth much. I had a request to go up to Haworth. I was requested to go to Homewood. There was requests to go to the BD3 area of Otley Road, Wibsey, yeah, the Buttershaw. There's lots of the areas I went into. But yeah, there was some other interesting things as well that I picked on in terms of when you go deep into some of the communities. Some of the sheer poverty actually that I witnessed was really it was quite sad actually, and I think that we're a long way off in terms of poverty in the district and probably in the UK, I would have thought.
So what did you learn then? You must have learned all sorts by going to all those different areas.
Yeah, I learned actually how caring people really are, and you know, some of the kind things that they were saying. So it's really nice, you know, because you know, I'm gonna refer to you know, this thing of Bradford being this place of a no-go zone. Well, I disagree actually. I could sit here all day and go through all the kind examples that I witnessed and what people do behind, you know, in the communities. So yeah, so it was really good to see the caring, and people were actually following, you know, the rules when I was going in. The families were just in gardens, just sat outside in gardens. You know, I didn't witness much garden mixing and things like that. So it was really good to see people following the rules, and people were just really nice and caring. Yeah.
Excellent. We're focusing here on kindness across difference. So I'm interested in the sort of maybe the differences that you might have bridged in that work that you did with your son. I call it work because it pretty much is, isn't it, when you start going out on tour? So tell me about those differences.
Sorry, in terms of what, sorry?
So kindness across difference. So kindness across difference could be age or cultural, socioeconomic. So you talked a bit about areas of deep poverty and deprivation. Tell me a bit about that, the people that you might have met that maybe you wouldn't have met otherwise.
It's difficult for me to answer that really, because I know quite lots of different people from lots of different communities, and so for me, I just feel that kindness is it should be used as a lens really, and that actually people are, if you put kindness in terms of, you look through the kindness lens, you know, I think that's probably the best way for me to answer it, because it's difficult for me to answer that, because I just know so many different people from so many different backgrounds, and yeah.
Kindness.
Sorry.
Kindness. Yeah, no, absolutely, it's a good answer. Thank you. It's throwing you a curveball. Thank you very much. Could you just share those photographs? I know that you've got some fantastic photos there, Cain. So I wanted to have a little look so that people could see them.
Yes.
Leo out on the beat.
Yeah. I will... I don't know if you can see that.
Wow. Yeah, you look amazing.
So this was a picture in Ollerton Estate in Bradford. And this day he decided that he didn't want to be Spider-Man, and Spider-Man was on a break, so he wanted to be Buzz Lightyear.
I like this kind of interchangeable. He just changes his outfits. That's brilliant.
Yeah. And this is in Manningham, Bradford. And this one was in Haworth, on a street in Haworth.
Oh, wow. Those kids look thrilled, don't they?
Yeah. And this was, I've forgotten the name of the area. It's just off Haworth Road in Bradford. And that's Zara, on one of the streets, Zara with the program lead. And again,
it's one of the parents you were telling me about that got more excited than the kids.
He was very excited. And they're just the few there that I'd share, so I'll stop there.
Excellent. Oh, thank you so much for sharing those. That's brilliant. What an amazing thing to do as well. Fantastic. And so has it made a real impact on Leo as well? I mean, he's 4 now, isn't he? So it's...
Yeah, he's 4 now. Yeah. He touches on it every so often. Now he's talking about Power Rangers. So as time moves on, I'm sure. What's that? Sorry.
Got new outfits to buy.
Yes, yeah. I'll probably have to put a fundraiser out to raise all the outfits that will be demanding.
Thank you very much. Okay, I'm just going to move over to Shehla in a second, but just for those of you that are watching, if you'd like to send in any questions for Cain or Shehla, but also to send anything that's about sharing radical kindness, acts of radical kindness in your area, then please do. And all you need to do is, here it is, it looks like this. There's a little Q&A with 2 speech bubbles. And if you click on that on your toolbar, you can then share a question and I'll be able to pick that up. So please do share questions or anything that you would like to share that you think is a great example of radical kindness. So Shehla, I'm just going to move over to you. So your work started in data, didn't it? You were sort of exploring the data and kind of collecting all of that together. That all sounds quite cold, doesn't it? But actually, it was really systematic. I was so impressed with it. You were collecting, you were gathering data, you were analysing, and you were also categorising it to sort of look at where the needs were. Can you tell me a bit more about that?
Yeah. So Bradford for Everyone, which is an integration program in Bradford going on, started in March 2019. So our whole team, which was working on this program, when COVID started, we were redeployed to support communities. That was a rapid response delivered by Bradford Council and the partner organizations, our BCS sector as well. So my role within that program was to assist our program supporting communities program manager and intelligence officer. So I was looking at all the data which was coming through, the number we set out for people to call us, and just whatever need, whatever support they had, they could call that number 431,000 in Bradford. And the data was coming like more than 500 calls on average every day. And my role was actually to look at all the data and to categorize the needs. And what I saw was, it was really overwhelming, the type of needs people had at that time when the first lockdown started. People from across the district, they needed food, they needed medication, somebody to deliver medication. But the third most important category, which came out from the data, was social support. So many people were saying they just needed somebody to call them, just keep an eye on them and just ask them how they were. And that was so overwhelming at that time. I became overwhelmed with that kind of, that we have so many people that this COVID has actually unsurfaced many issues which we usually ignore, that people are socially isolated. So of course the response on the whole system, we responded to those needs as quickly as we could, setting up a befriending project and people volunteering, volunteers talking to people, giving them calls. But what inspired me to do that was just setting up a WhatsApp group for people who were in my neighborhood and people I knew. I saw them living alone, never had a chance to say hello most of the time. It's just the life is so busy sometimes you don't get to stop and ask people how they were. But I set up a WhatsApp group for those people, and it started with 8 people. It was a little bit of effort in terms of just going down and encouraging people, because some older people, they were not very comfortable with technology. But what I saw was they were so excited about this, that this will be the opportunity for them to talk to other people. That they all took part in it, and it started with 8 people, and then after a few months we had more than 15 people. And then some other households just wanted to be part of that group, so they can just, if there is anybody who needs help, they can just respond to that person. And it was so amazing to do that. And I think one element was also because my own mom, she was abroad, living alone at that time. And we all siblings were across the world in different countries, and we could talk to her. So WhatsApp is something which helped us actually to just talk to her and ask her, and then put her in touch with other people. And I think those are the things which were inspired me at that time. And data at that time it was I know it's a cold subject, people usually don't like, but I think the evidence we could see, because usually you tend to ignore many things, that yes, it's the multi-generation, many households are multi-generational in Bradford, but at the same time you could see people living alone, single parent families, people living, older people living with people who are vulnerable, and migrants who might not have had a chance to meet other people, and all this COVID and lockdown started. So yeah, I find data really interesting. That's something I love.
Yeah, well, and also you found that information, you categorized it, but you also then responded to it. You told me about a 79-year-old's birthday party. Can you, well, it was his birthday and there was a response to his birthday. Can you tell me a bit about that?
Yes, when our the data was, when those categories were picked up by our community hubs and neighborhood, we had community hubs and then neighborhood small areas, so reaching out to those people directly by our board officers, our elected members. So when they saw somebody said it's their 79th birthday and they just wanted to celebrate that, so the next day they brought cake, some flowers, and just got together and just in a way that at their doorstep, put everything there and clapped for that person. And that person was so happy. We've heard these stories, but it was something like, okay, it wasn't their family, but people were concerned about them, and the efforts our ward officers, our elected members, and other people, our whole team made was really, really touching. And something really inspirational, because something which we did, my children wanted to do was, so when they knew it was their friend's birthday across the street, they would just go out there on their doorstep, knock on the door, and then start singing happy birthday. It's just spreading some
valued.
yeah, and that's exactly what we needed in those days, and still we need that, and something which is happening in Bradford quite a lot. And it's really, really overwhelming to see that, how people have come together.
Thank you, Shehla. I've got another quick question for you about, so you told me when we had a chat before about during half term, the announcement that there were no food vouchers for children, and there was, what was the response that happened locally to this issue? What did people do?
I think it was a response where nobody thought that it's any one organization or any one person or any one community's responsibility. Everybody came together, either it's local authority, either it's our BCS sector, our businesses, our private sector, our communities, our faith groups, our individuals as well, our volunteers, our families, and they just came together and started cooking for people and just being part of that response. And so much going on at that time, it felt like it doesn't matter whatever is going on in Bradford, we can come together. We are not going to wait for somebody else to do something for us. We will do something for us together. And this is something, when we think about radical kindness, Chrissy, this is something I think is really, really important, because simple acts of kindness we do on a daily basis, saying hello to people, opening doors for them, saying thank you. But radical kindness is something which is beyond that, which is the next step further. Which is around whatever we see, whatever we say is rooted into kindness. And that comes when we start seeing other people through the lens of trust, empathy, compassion, And that's where we forget if people are different from us. We just start helping out those people. We just come out and say, okay, we want to help these people because we are in this together. It's a shared situation. So that's what we have seen in Bradford, and it's so evident in all parts of Bradford. It's something which we are inspiring other people. I hope so.
Oh, I think so. Thank you. In fact, you've inspired some questions. So I'm just going to go through some of these questions. So Cain, what activities did you do when you got into an area to attract people's attention? I imagine your outfits probably attracted quite significant attention. But Francis says, did you dance? Did you sing? Did you what did you do?
Yeah, so what I would do is, it was quite challenging actually sometimes. So we would get all the messages coming through. So I would have to respond to individuals to say, right, okay, I'm going to be on your street at this time. And met them aware. So then I think what that person would then do is just let the neighbours know through their WhatsApp group, so whatever communication method. And then I would turn up on the street, I'd get out of the car around the corner and just literally walk. I would just walk down the street and just wave. Yes, did do a dance. I've forgotten the name of the dance. It's this dance that these young people are doing these days. I've forgotten what it's called.
It wasn't the floss or the dance.
Floss, that's the one, yeah. It's a floss. I was doing a floss, Francis. I was flossing my way through Bradford.
As a transformer bumblebee, I love it. I love it. Fantastic. And I've also got a question here, which is for both of you, both you, Shehla and Cain. How do you think we could spread radical kindness around Christmas when a lot of people are likely to be feeling more lonely? Start with you, Shehla. Tell me.
Okay. Yeah. So Christmas is something when people get together, they share food, they share happiness, and something which we have been doing in different, because we've had Diwali, we've had Eid, we've had Easter, we've had lots of events, religious events during this period, past 7-8 months. And what I remember people doing is sharing food, cooking for the whole street, sharing food, and and sometimes some people have done that just first time, and people like that, and that's where people started doing it and sending people cards through their letterboxes and saying Happy Eid or Happy Easter. So something, I think anything where you can actually just look out for people, just go out and just ask them, share food with them. I think that would be, or just give them a call if you know that their number, or just ask them how they are. I think those are small acts of kindness which go really, really far.
That's great. Thank you, Shehla. Cain, how can we spread radical kindness around Christmas when a lot of people are...
I mean, it's similar to what Shehla's saying, really. It's really, I suppose it's really difficult. And it's been difficult for like Eid, to celebrate Eid and Diwali. So yeah, so I think really small acts of kindness over Christmas will go a long way. And just, you can send virtual cards, you can just check in with people. You know, you can just, I think a lot of people will be sending lots of cards over Christmas and checking in with people that way. One of the things that appeared on my desk, and I still don't know, on my doorstep, I still don't know who's done it. It was a sunflower. So that was really nice. So yeah, little small acts of kindness over Christmas. It doesn't have to involve money. It could just be a check-in with someone, especially those that you may know that are lonely. I think that's going to be the big drive in December. And one of the things I'll be working on at Yorkshire Curry Club is we're going to do a massive cook-off, I think, for curries for lonely people.
Yeah, that's the key, isn't it? Because it's a long time that people have been locked down. So there's a prolonged sort of period of loneliness. And actually often those couple of days over Christmas can be very isolating for people on their own, can't they? But if you think they've been isolated potentially all of these months as well. It's been absolutely fantastic, Shehla and Cain, for you joining us today. And we've had a few comments during this webinar. So thank you to the people that chipped in there. And it's been a real pleasure to have you both with us today, and just wonderful to hear what you've been doing, Cain, and a snapshot of some of the other amazing work and the sharing of kindness across difference in Bradford, Shehla. So thank you so much. Next week at 11 AM, join us for Elevenses again, when we'll be joined by Claire Tullock, Social Integration Communications Manager from Blackburn with Darwen Council, and her exciting guests, Hannah Allen from the Blackburn Youth Zone, who's been doing fantastic work to bring kindness across Blackburn and Darwen, and Ricky West, who will tell us all about the inspirational work he's been doing to bring the homeless together with a men's gardening group and Blackburn Rovers, which sounds amazing. So why not make a cake for that occasion? I might make one next week, and tell me what it is that you've been doing over this last week via chat or the Q&A, and I will see you then. I've just got one more Q&A question that's come in. Oh, somebody just saying absolutely fantastic work that you're both doing. Thank you very much. So thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you all next week at 11 AM.
Thank you. Bye.